Hey guys, iKailaKai here with game 2 of the 3v3 Spring Cup. For this one, we have FudelioTCG, another Japanese player, and another player who was at this tournament with me.
Mhm.
How are you feeling?
Hi, Kai. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so
Excited to do this.
this is going to be interesting because this matchup is Green Purple Luffy against Purple Katakuri, which is not a matchup we
Mm.
see very often, but it is the top 8 match. You brought Green Purple Luffy to your 3v3, so do you have
Mhm.
if any sort of insight on how this matchup might actually go?
I would just approach it like similarly to Purple Luffy. It's like Purple Katakuri and Luffy are very similar leaders in the fact that like the more modern Luffy lists kind of revolve around Akos Katakuri a lot. So I would just try my best to like approach it in a similar fashion, but just know that like the 10 cost Linlin is going to be hard to deal with, and they probably have like some more just overall defensive capabilities with some of the like Dawn minusing the buff effects and everything.
Yeah, I think one of the weird things with Purple Katakuri is the fact that he ends up playing on curve, although he does a lot of Dome minusing and
Mhm,
Dome ramping with his leader effect. But the 10 cost
mhm.
12,000 having rush is quite
Yeah,
scary.
yeah, it's like even scarier 9 cost Luffy. It is like gonna be one turn later than like something Luffy could do for that, but um like if they get the Katakuri or two down into the 10 cost Linlin, it's kind of like GG's for you if you're a green purple Luffy player.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see how this matchup isn't going. I don't really know how Katakuri wants to play. I understand how the Katakuri versus Blue-Purple Luffy matchup goes, and I assume that that's kind of
Right.
what he was focusing on, because at the start of the set, many people were talking about how Katakuri can actually beat Blue-Purple Luffy. Don't know how
Yeah.
true that actually is, but it looks like the Green-Purple Luffy side has kept his starting hand, and Purple Katakuri has mulliganed
Yeah,
for
also
second.
the dice. The purple Katakuri player, because I watched this while on the day of, but
Hmm,
I don't remember everything about it. But I do remember seeing the Katakuri player using the dice, and I was like, I
interesting.
could tell he used it to show like what the number of the cost is, so he doesn't
So he
forget.
doesn't
But it's
forget
like pub,
himself.
yeah, but it's like I
Interesting.
guess it's not technically public knowledge, but I guess if you would like to share with your opponent, it's fine. So I think he just did it sometimes because if you forget and whiff, it's so bad.
Interesting. I think.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
the
I mean,
starting hand's
oh,
really good too.
this is a good starting idea.
That's like perfect. Yeah, I remember seeing that and being like,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, I'm not mulliganing this.
Yeah. So I have not seen these games, so
Hmm,
this is going to be more of my initial live reaction. Very curious to see how this matchup is going. But yeah, I think that the Japanese rules and the English rules for how you can use dice is slightly different. Like for example, in
hmm,
Japan, you can actually use dice to count your searches, whereas I believe that that doesn't classify as public information
right.
in the English version.
Yeah,
So for those wondering, this is allowed in Japan, but perhaps not for you, which is a weird thing.
yeah.
And I hope that they make all of the
Make it the
rules
same.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Purple Katakuri's starting hand, although I love to see the Tenkas Mom, probably not something you want to see this early.
yeah.
The one
The
saving
two
grace, though,
Sparrows too.
yeah, but I think that Parasparrow is probably the strongest card within the deck that you need in the early game at the very least. So having
Yeah,
that card,
yeah.
like making sure that you have that card, is very important.
Mhm.
Not
That's
only that,
true.
but because he's going second, he has a decent first couple of turns where he
Mhm.
plays Bunkle on 4, on 7
Right.
he plays Parasparrow, and then on the next turn I don't remember how it works. He could play another Parasparrow and then
You play
Tenkas Mom, I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, or hit the Katakuri on the 9 Dawn turn
Yeah. So,
if he draws into it.
yeah. There's a lot of interesting things the decks can do. Like the 2 cost Katakuri, being able to summon the 8 cost Katakuri if you could find that,
Mhm.
also weaves well into the
Yeah,
Dunk Curve. I think that's one of the big ways that this deck tries to accelerate the game.
yeah. Yeah, get your mid pieces down, and then you don't have to waste a full turn playing Akos Katakuri sometimes. You can just do like 2 and 1, like on your 9 or 10 Dawn turn, as long as your opponent is at 8 Dawn.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Ooh,
Hold on. How many cards is that in? Okay.
I think it
Oh, is
was the
that the 5th
6th.
card? Oh, it's the 6th card. Okay, okay.
Uh,
So we need a judge ruling then. Okay.
yeah, they let the opponent choose.
Yeah. This is
Or it was the 7th card.
Mm-mm. Yeah, in this situation,
You go
usually
one
the
more
opponent
back.
gets to see the card, gets to choose if the card goes to the top or bottom. The green-purple
Yeah.
Luffy player, nah, decide to put it to the top. Purple Katakuri picks up the 2-cost Katakuri. Hopefully, if he can find the 8-cost Katakuri, he can really accelerate the board state, but currently he does not have it.
Mm.
Na is
The old
checking.
leader check.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you
better
don't really
better
want to
late
check it
than
when
never.
you... Yeah, it feels awkward checking before the game starts, but if you don't understand how it works, you definitely need to.
Yeah, don't be ashamed to check what that leader does, guys.
Oh, he immediately
Oh
gets
yeah,
the
and
Katakuri though.
he counters out
Yeah,
with the Katakuri.
I think that's fair though. He doesn't really want to get rid of the
Fine.
Bonk
Yeah.
He runs
The
out of a
bonk
play
play
next
is
turn.
the absolute play here, yeah.
I do
I
think
think
though
did he
you...
draw a Nana? Oh yeah, he's a Nana,
He got
and
Ananga.
then
We haven't
he
seen
has
Sasaki in a while.
Sasaki. Yeah, that OG Sasaki card.
Yeah. I wonder, I feel like in most cases when Green Purple Luffy starts with a 5,000 attack on turn 2, he's going to hit 5k with the Nami there. So he probably could have
Mm,
taken that first one. The Anana was the first life, and then he could have countered out with that instead of the 2-Gus Katakuri.
yeah,
But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, but perhaps he's more afraid of the bigger attacks in the turns to come, so he wanted to try to stay as healthy as
Mm,
possible early game. He just didn't expect the 3
yeah,
Dong on Nami.
yeah,
Anyways,
because sometimes they do search with that Dawn, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Purple Katakuri plays the Bonclay and puts out Anana. Right now it's not a blocker, but in the late game,
Mhm.
guaranteed to be a blocker with how many Big Mom Pirates that Katakuri runs.
Yeah, very clutch card. Anana is like low key so strong in that deck.
Yeah, it's really good. You could even run it in Blue Purple Luffy. But I think
Yeah, yeah, I've
especially,
seen that.
yeah, in these kinds of Luffy matchups, the only means that Green Purple Luffy has of clearing these low cost characters is through the 4-cost EB02 Zoro. And
Hmm.
many decks don't even run that really anymore, so a lot of the
Yeah.
times what you play in the early game ends up sticking. So
Hmm.
it's totally, it's almost free basically to just set up these early game blockers where you can and just hold on to them for the next 5 or 6 turns for when you finally need to use them.
Yeah. The OP11 format doesn't really
Mm,
allow a lot of room for those green 4-cost Zoros, so it's harder for GP Luffy to play them.
yeah. Yeah, so Katakuri uses his leader effect to get the free defensive capability.
Mm.
Defense capability. The free defense
Mhm.
against Green Purple Luffy to not have to deal with that 5,000 power attack. Makes sense, I guess, because even if he goes
Yeah.
to 7 Dong the next turn, there isn't really anything that he can do. He probably most
Yeah.
likely plays Pedal Spittle, but he doesn't have anything to do with the next 2 Dong. So being at 6 or 7 doesn't make a huge difference. Also,
Yeah.
he's probably going to end up using his leader effect here as well, so it's not like his leader can't hit at 7k. So,
Hmm. And he knows he's ramping with Perospero as well, so
yeah. There's some kind of fun things you could do, because he saw that going Mary was on the top of the opponent's deck.
mm,
He knows that he's going to
yeah.
draw it next turn, which means that he knows that the 5-cost pudding is going to be 7-cost next turn. I don't know
Mm,
if that's really relevant in this deck, but
yeah, and I don't think so, but
yeah.
that'd be really awesome if you were like a
Oh,
KO deck and you could like kind of predict that and play around.
yeah. That'd be kind of interesting in some very niche situations. But yeah,
Hmm.
um, right. The Katakuri doesn't even need to use his leader effect because he knows the card from last turn. Right.
Right,
That's true.
right.
So he just plays Spittle Spittle, immediately
He
uses
doesn't have
the
to sound
effect.
minor.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He doesn't need to use his
Yeah.
leader effect, and then can just immediately swing. Leading at 6 or 7 right now.
I think he's just going at 6 actually.
Yeah, I think this is 6.
I think, yeah.
See how he deals with this. The one problem with Green Purple Luffy's current hand is that the only Tooth K that he has in his hand is Usohachi, I believe. And if
Mm,
he counters out with that, it gives the opponent a lot of information that he doesn't necessarily want to give this early on.
yeah.
If you show the opponent that you only have Usohachi in your hand, then they can capitalize on that by hitting at 6,000, 7,000, these really annoying thresholds to try to force out 2Ks from your hand. So Green Purple
Mhm.
Luffy electing to try to deal with these attacks later on takes the attack. Picks up the Going Merry that we've seen, and now with 7 Dong, what is he going to do?
Yeah, I think he's got Luffy Taro in hand, so he'll probably just play that. I think he had the I don't know if he has a target for it, but
I think I saw
yeah, there he
Zorozero
is.
in his hand.
Yeah,
He does
yeah.
not have the Sanji inputting.
But still a really good play.
Yeah,
So far, like GP has been able to do essentially what he's wanted to do. So like in just the general sense of like what he wants to play.
right.
The counter lists are definitely adding up, which is probably gonna be a problem, just because Katakuri gets a lot of big bodies on board, and like going down to 2 life is normally pretty okay as GP in almost any matchup, but this might actually be a matchup where you like kind of want to defend out of 1 or 2 of those earlier attacks.
Yeah, I'm a bit
But
surprised
he
he
didn't.
didn't
He
count out
couldn't
at the
really do it.
6K. Yeah, but he
Yeah.
does have 2 giants, so it's not like he can't fix the counterless issues once he
Right.
gets to that point that he can start using
hmm
them.
hmm Yeah. So
Um,
far, he's still chilling. Honestly, like he's doing the things he wants to do and has the defense for late game.
yeah, both sides seem to be doing what they're doing. The one thing
hmm
that um, that comes with playing an unfamiliar matchup is that when you're in these board states where both sides are doing decent moves, you don't know who's actually ahead.
Mm. Yeah. True. So it's hard to make like judgment calls based on that.
Yeah. Green purple Luffy here can yeah 7
Fix it.
7-9. Oh no, he probably goes 7-8 in
Think
stage, for example.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's the Katakuri.
Yeah. 7 went through just now too, so
Yeah.
another 7 would probably be fine.
It's one of those things where once the opponent takes life, you feel like you want to hit at higher thresholds, and if they defend it, you want to hit at
Mhm.
lower thresholds. So it kind of depends on if
Mm,
Green Purple Luffy, for example, wants to set up the 2-cost chopper, or if he wants to
yeah.
set up things like the stage, leave up Dong for Gum Gum Giant, although I don't think you want to do that this early. He has a
Yeah,
couple of
that would be
options.
too much.
Yeah. He has a couple of options, but none of them seem like the absolute best play right now.
No. The Luffy Taro is good, but then I don't know, it's just a little bit awkward, like some of the
Yeah.
l- like other plays that he's gonna have to do here.
I think setting up the chopper here is the better play, though, just because the fact
Yeah.
that he doesn't have too much counter in his hand, all of the 2Ks in his hand are Usohachi, and he's already
hmm
at 2 life, he doesn't want to really get run over. And with the threat of Bonkley and this Spittle Spittle being 7,000 power base, the board is a lot scarier than it actually looks.
True. Very true.
That being said, Green
I think
Purple Luffy's board. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sparrow, I think too, is just so strong this matchup, like you were saying, because you're like essentially filtering every time you use his effect when you trash one, draw one,
Yeah.
and like GP Luffy would love to be filtering his hand right now. Get rid of that stage because you don't really need it, or like having the extra dawn to play it or something, but he doesn't. And like Sparrow just gives Katakuri this like almost infinite loop cycle throughout the rest of the game, which is
Yeah.
really strong.
Yeah, this is the one thing that I realized when I was testing out Purple Katakuri, is that he's very, very strong if he can get Petal Spittle to stick onto the
Mm,
board. But if he doesn't get this,
yeah.
then it feels like he's missing a lot of the tools that he has. It's thanks to not Purple, oh my god, Petal Spittle, that
Yeah, he is
he's,
purple.
yeah, he is purple. Um, it's thanks to Piddle Spittle that he's able to filter his hand and also be able to ramp. And so if he
Yeah, the
doesn't
ramp.
draw this card, then he has to find another means of being able to do those things. So it can
hmm
start to get ugly if he doesn't have it. Thankfully, he has it right now, and now it's just a matter of what can he do against this really threatening board from Green Purple Luffy.
Mm,
He starts with 7k. I think this attack is always going to happen, but the question is, what is he going to do with the Bonkley, for example?
yeah.
There's actually, I'll talk about it at the 10 doctor. There's a very interesting thing that Purple Katakuri can do, but I'm not sure if this deck has the tools to do it.
Mm,
I think that this turn, you probably always just play the 8-cost Katakuri.
yeah.
Yeah,
You really want to get that Katakuri down.
yeah. And
I could see not swinging with Bon here would be fine. Doesn't want to.
yeah, I think that
There's
because... Oh, I didn't see the guard. Not the make.
yeah, you
Oh,
can get to see it.
he's using the dice.
We'll see it from Parrow's effect, I think. So, because he can. The nice thing here too is the sequencing. While you do have to swing 7 and then 6, with leader, you can get that Dawn back that you used with leader effect
Mm,
with Perispero, and then you get the additional one back with a cost Katakuri too. So
yeah.
you're back at 10 Dawn, which is kind of sick.
He's
Mm,
debating if he should block with Chopper.
if he doesn't block with Chopper here and he doesn't swing with Bon Clay, green purple Luffy's is kind of screwed for the next turn. So I think blocking here would be the correct thing.
Uh,
Katakuri just has seemed kind of in the driver's seat for this game, though, I will say.
yeah,
Oh, it was Luffy. Let's discuss Luffy.
mm, I don't know. I think there's also a world. So let's first talk about this line. Because the green purple Luffy ended up blocking the 6k attack, I think you always hit with Bunkley here, just because it's a
Mm,
free at least 8,000 power attack at either Sanjin Pudding or Life.
yeah,
I think,
that's true.
I don't know where he allocated the attack, but I feel like it makes sense to go for the
I
5
think
cost
he's
7,000 Sanjin
yeah,
Pudding.
I think he's going into Sanji Pudding.
Yeah, because the way that green purple Luffy's been playing, it looks like he's been struggling for counter for this game.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
if he can get rid of the Sanjin Pudding, it makes the board that much weaker. I don't think that Purple Katakuri is necessarily trying to rush down Green Purple Luffy.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. He has enough defense to not like that Anana being on the board too is just like another like just a nice little cushion too.
Yo, the Katakuri also restands Piddle Spiddle. That's so nice.
Yep, yep.
When you play Blue Purple Luffy, that thing
Yeah,
basically only restands himself.
yeah. Yeah, him or Nine Cost Mom. You're
Yeah,
just used to seeing that, right? Yeah.
yeah. And the thing is, people don't even attack 9 cost mom anyway, so it doesn't matter if she's rested or not.
Mm.
But Piddle
Yeah.
Spiddle restanding is actually kind of significant because it makes it so that it's very hard to actually take back Katakuri's board. Oh, actually, though, was this board full the turn before?
Two,
Believe
three.
it was. Yeah, it was. It was. Because he had Sanji Pudding,
True.
Luffy
Yeah.
Taro. So actually, I think that you just counter out of the 6k attack. Even
Because you
if
can
the
replace it.
yeah, like if the opponent decides not to use, you could still replace it and play something else.
Hmm.
Obviously, you lose a chopper, and that feels kind of bad.
Yeah,
But in that way, he doesn't have to lose his Sanjin Pudding the turn before.
that's true.
So I don't know. It's very
But
complicated.
if he doesn't play Chopper, then he still just has the free reign to just swing in though over the Sanji Pudding.
So you probably do play the chopper for the insurance, but you might not need to actually um, block with it from the 6k attack because then
Yeah.
you end up putting yourself in the same situation that you would have been if you didn't play the chopper anyways.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
perhaps
I think
countering
that's
out
a
of
good
that
point.
attack, and if the opponent decides not to attack with the Bonklay, then you just push it out with the next character that you play, I think
Yeah.
is the better play, because in that situation, you'd still
Hmm.
have a Sanjin putting on the board.
True. And it's also a reason I go back and forth between putting Chopper in my green purple Luffy deck, but I opt to just play the 3 cost Robin right now because
Mm,
Chopper leads you. If your opponent knows how to play around Chopper very well, it leads you into like being controlled by your opponent and putting you in these awkward positions. And I don't really like that, so I like Robin a little bit more at the
yeah.
moment.
Well, we can actually see that this Green Purple Luffy player runs both the Chopper and the Robin, which you don't actually see
Mm-hmm.
too often.
Yeah, some people do the split, but I think most people kind of choose one or the other. I chose just Robin for the consistency and being able to search it.
Mm,
But I have Chopper is good. Chopper is not a bad blocker, and it really helps in like the blue purple matchup too.
yeah.
So
Funny that
totally
Anana
understandable.
from turn 2 did its
Yep,
job,
yep.
but
Hmm.
very good. Ended up counting as 4,000 counter because it was able to deal
Hmm.
with an 8,000 power attack.
Yep, really strong.
Mm. The 7k here is very nice because he has 3 attacks on board and he only has 2 life. So if the green purple Luffy ends up taking this attack, then he's forced to deal with much bigger attacks from Katakuri and the other
Yeah,
Katakuri. So he's basically forced to defend this attack, which makes green purple Luffy's board a lot easier to take. I do
yep.
actually think though that you can potentially hit one more time. Um, uh, that's a bit awkward. Never mind. You can threaten things like 9 cost Luffy and hit at very weird thresholds to try to see if you can get more counter to the opponent's hand. But I don't think that this is the sort of thing that Green Purple Luffy would fall for in a bluff.
Or swinging into the board more, you mean?
If you swing into life one more time with the
Oh, I got you.
purple Katakuri, then the opponent might feel
Yeah.
threatened to defend it because there's some random rush cards that are very scary in this deck.
Well, there's 10 cost. Yeah, the 10 cost Linlin coming down too. So.
Yeah. But the thing that I was going to talk about last turn, the really scary thing that this deck is able to do is
Mhm.
because you can regain Dong through Perospero, what you could do if you
Mhm.
know what the opponent's top card is play 9 cost Luffy when you're at 10 Dong, minus 1 Dong, use the Perospero effect to get the Dong back, use the 2 cost Katakuri, and play 8 cost Katakuri. And that way, for
Mm.
10 Dong, you're able to play 17 Dong worth of cards, which are
Mhm.
exceptionally powerful. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy about the deck, but not every deck runs 9 cost Luffy, so not every deck is able to do that.
Yeah. That is a really feels good man play though.
Oof.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, no, this
Even just
is
8 cost Katakuri plus a 2 cost on 10 Dawn, like 2 costs into another 8 cost Katakuri, even just stuff like that is just crazy value.
purple Katakuri. Although his hand size compared to Luffy's hand size doesn't feel as dominating, given the fact that Luffy has Gum Gum Giant in his hand, feels like he's in a
Mm.
really commanding spot right now because he's able to attack the opponent's board while Green Purple Luffy's still not in a spot where he can threaten lethal.
Yeah. It's just that 8 cost Katakuri, man. It's so strong.
Yeah.
The
Luffy
presence of
forced
that
to
block
use Gum
rare.
Gum Giant, going down to
Mm.
5 Dong. At the very least, it is free. He draws another Gum Gum Giant, so it's effectively just a completely free um, defense. But
Yeah, but another brick with it too, though.
yeah, but he
Yep.
doesn't really want to go down to 5 Dong this early, and the Anana
Nope.
is huge right now.
Yeah, not on it. Yep.
Against a deck
If
like Green
that
Purple
Nana wasn't
Luffy,
there,
yeah.
yeah, if that Nana wasn't there, there would be some like some things green purple could do here to like kind of put Katakuri back on the back foot, but with that extra little blocker, it's gonna make things so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You can just do
also
another Luffy Taro.
he's in a rough spot. There's
Mhm.
a lot of people forget that 10 cost mom isn't just a 10 cost 12,000 rush, but for minus
Yep.
5 dong, you can make your leader plus 2,000 power for the entire turn, which makes it very
Mhm.
good. Despite being a 10 cost 12,000 rush, which is usually weak against aggro, very strong against aggro because it gives you this additional effect that's pretty easy to use and also pretty easy to recover from because you really only
Yeah.
need one 10 cost mom on the board and the rest can just be smaller characters like 8 cost Katakuri, 1 cost Adana, for
Mhm.
example.
And you're getting 2 Dawn back with 8 cost Katakuri and Perospero,
Yeah.
like at the during your turn and at the end of your turn, so
Yep.
it's really like -1 kind of.
Yeah. You know,
It's -5 and you get 2 back, so there's 3 missing, and you can get 1 back with Perospero, so it's kind of like -2 and then goes down to -1 at the end of your turn, so not bad. You have 2 Perosperos, you can fully recover. You can fully financially recover by the end of your turn.
yeah. Oh, actually, I because I haven't played Katakuri that much, I'm kind of learning from this game.
Hmm.
Surprisingly resilient.
Yeah, yeah.
The Anana is just really, really powerful. The one thing holding it back is that you can't actually search Anana because it's 1 cost, and the pudding can only search 2 costs or
Uh,
higher.
True, true. But you can
Yeah,
with the, we're going to take the One Piece
that is
because he's
true.
playing that
Yeah, he does run that
yeah.
too.
uh, Which is probably smart, like, Katakuri falls apart if you don't see your pieces on time. It's like it's a
Mm.
combo piece deck like that, a lot of decks like that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, so does Green Purple Luffy, but, Katakuri if you have Perospero, like you said, if you have Perospero, you can normally find your other pieces in time.
Yeah.
So, his is a little bit less risky, in my opinion.
Mm.
A little bit easier to find his pieces on time.
Yeah, having all of these searchers in the deck actually makes a lot of sense because not only are you looking for the Perospero in time, but you're also trying to find things like the 2 cost Katakuri, 8 cost Katakuri,
Yeah.
lots of things that you want to find within this deck, but if you can connect them, very, very strong.
Mhm, mhm. He's probably opting for consistency, especially because he knew he might be hitting a lot of blue purple Luffys, and if Curry's not consistent, he's not gonna beat blue purple Luffy. So
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, block
Oh,
1K counter. That's so strong.
interesting. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that card was in his hand. 3 cost pudding.
Yeah, the 3 cost pudding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Actually,
I've seen some
pretty
people run
strong,
that.
yeah, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
'cause it just lets you use leader effect
Yeah.
from turn 2 or turn 3 after you play it.
Yeah, you can actually ramp very quickly with that card in Perospero, huh?
Mhm. Mhm.
This looks like
A
a lot
lot
of
of
fun.
people play the brulee, the new ramp
Right.
roulette card too. I don't know if this list runs it or if lists run it that much anymore, but there used to be like a
Mm.
super aggressive ramp style purple Katakuri build that people were playing.
I remember seeing
That
people
was
running that
really
in Pudding. I don't remember seeing it in Katakuri. But
uh yeah, I think most people played it for pudding, but some people tried it out in purple Katakuri too. But I think
mhm,
it doesn't work out as well as it just running it in pudding
yeah.
because you're not healing.
Katakuri's still
Yeah,
electing to go for the board, despite being in a
yeah.
very commanding position. I guess he's still in a spot where if he ignores Green Purple Luffy's board and tries to threaten lethal, then he is in a spot where he can still die due to the fact that although he has 2 blockers, he only has 1 life and 5 hand.
Yeah. Just bullying that board because he knows that he's probably going to be safe.
Yeah,
And he himself has a really strong board, so I think this is
yeah.
totally okay what he's doing here.
Yeah, I definitely think that instead of hitting board first with 10 cost bomb though, if you do what he just did and hit 8k at leader, then
Yeah, but opposite, right?
he's forced to
Hmm.
defend it basically because you have so many attacks on
Yeah.
board. If you start with that, then he doesn't end up taking this attack from 8,000, the 8,000 power Perospedal right now. He
Hmm.
defends that, then you go for his board, and then you might be able to clear it much more easily.
Yeah, I think it would basically mean you're probably going to clear two things in that situation instead of just clear one
Mhm.
and then give them an extra card in hand with the swinging into their life.
Yeah, but now that yeah, so now that the purple Katakuri player ended up hitting with 8,000 second and not first, the green purple Luffy player is allowed to take the attack, and because he takes the attack, it makes his hand stronger and makes it less likely
Yeah.
that his Rifutaro ends up dying. So therefore, the purple Katakuri player is forced into a situation where he's forced to hit leader again to try to get resources now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Green purple
He
Luffy ends up
sequenced that
countering
a little
it,
better.
and I believe that purple Katakuri
He
now.
got that. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I think he got that 2K too from his life.
Yeah.
So like getting the sequencing wrong and then the life allowed him to counter out of that attack as well.
Yeah. I think now purple Katakuri though, he's in a spot where he most likely just hits 10 at the Defitaro. Because I don't think there's anything in his hand that, although it's very hard to see what's in his hand, that's really worth
Mhm.
playing right now than to just try to either get a lot of resources out of Luffy, Green Purple Luffy's hand, or to try to, at best, clear Defitaro completely.
Mhm. 7 done. We go 11.
If he uses leader effect, he can go to 11.
Yeah.
But
But
the
would it be smart?
I don't think there's a reason to,
Yeah,
because
that's true. There's
he
not really a
just
reason.
yeah, he just countered 8k attack with 2k 2k, which means that he's probably
Mhm.
suffering for 1k's. So
Mhm.
if you hit at 10, it's basically the same as if you were to hit at 11. But a
Yeah.
threshold that would matter is if you were to hit at 12, because then you're out
12,
of Gum
right?
Gum Giant range. Regardless, 10 and 11 are
True.
still in Gum Gum Giant range, and Green Purple Luffy most likely is forced to use it here. But
Mhm.
then once again, he's going really, really low on Dong. He elects
Yeah,
to let it through.
it would
Yeah.
be better to try and force him to use that Gungam Giant so that it's just even more impossible for him to go
Yeah.
for game.
Yeah, if he can't hit at 12, then 10's the best threshold after that. So he ends up taking out the Fitaro in the end because Na does not want to go down to 5 Dong at this late stage in the game.
Mhm.
Additionally, although Purple Katakuri would end up going down to something like 2 or 3 Dong, um,
Mm.
he can still use the 10 cost mom effect.
Mhm. And as Katakuri, I would be like, okay, this is the turn where 6 cost Luffy is coming down.
Yeah.
So I think that is a very because he knows he has it too. He knows like uh, he might actually only I think he knows maybe one giant in the 6 cost Luffy because he hasn't been using
Hmm.
Katakuri's effect every single time
I don't know. He
the
has used
past
a
couple
giant though.
turns.
I'm not sure if that's public information. But
Yeah.
Green Purple Luffy's in a spot where he most likely dies the next turn
Mhm.
unless he has miracle draws off of his Gungam Giant. But even still, Purple
Yeah.
Black Luffy, not Purple Black
Mhm.
Luffy, Purple Katakuri can hit at lower thresholds to try to bully resources out of Green Purple Luffy's hands. So I
Mhm.
think that Green Purple Luffy's in a spot where he needs to get 4 attacks through on this turn. There's 2 blockers on the
Yeah.
board, and he only has 3 attacks. It's up to 6 cost to Dufitaro, not Dufitaro. I'm making so many mistakes today. The 6 cost
It's
secret
okay.
rare Luffy to be able to try to break through
Yeah.
this game.
No, it's just putting in work.
Yeah.
If Luffy had stage and Makusen, the Demon 9 slash Ashura event, he could
Yeah.
at least like rest his Nami. He could buff the Luffy to 10, rest Nami and rest Anana, and that would at least give him a little more flexibility. But yeah, he's not even in a position where that's really possible. So
Mhm. He might actually be going for just the single swing on leader and leaving up a ton of dong to try to go for the Miracle Gum Gum Giant.
yeah, I think he's
There's
debating.
okay,
Okay, there you
okay,
go.
yeah. I think that
Yeah.
I think that both plays are very unlikely to end up winning him the game, but
Mhm.
this one maybe has a slightly higher chance. He needs
Yeah.
the 7k attack to go through.
Yeah, with only 3 cards in hand. Well, it would have been 4, but if he didn't play the 6 cost Luffy, but
Yeah. Basically, if
no
Katakuri
counter.
in his 5 cards does not have 3k counter, then Green Purple Luffy ends up winning here. Unfortunately, the glare
Yeah.
on the cards means that I can't actually see what the cards on the right are, but
Yeah,
there
it's a
is a
little hard.
chance
And
that
he
he
has a 2
doesn't
cost.
have.
I think he has the Katakuri and another Struisen.
Right.
So he has
Okay.
the 3k counter. But I think he has only 3k counter, which is
Okay.
very interesting.
In which
I could be
case,
wrong.
yeah.
But he has leader effect, and he can still use the 10 cost mom effect. So
Oh, yeah.
he
Oh, no,
actually
yeah, he's
is
guaranteed to
guaranteed.
survive.
Yeah. No matter what, he was
Yeah.
guaranteed.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot for a second too.
Yeah. Nah. Okay, so
And
purple,
then and
yeah.
then he countered out with the effects. So he like the 7K, so he's had the Katakuri block still too. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that was just very overpowering.
There's
Mhm.
also one thing that I thought was really fun here is that both players, despite this game going on for 29 and a half minutes, ended the game on 3 dong.
That's funny.
Yeah. There's
Yeah, that's crazy.
like
Not often that you see that outside of maybe like a GP mirror or something.
yeah, this one of the really interesting things about this matchup, I guess, is that Green Purple Luffy's effects sometimes it needs the opponent to be at higher dong than you. So some of his effects might
Mm.
not actually activate depending on situation.
Oh,
Nonetheless,
that's right too. I
yeah.
think the 6K Luffy couldn't swing because if
Oh,
your opponent's at 5
wait,
or less Dawn, yeah,
wait.
sorry. I mean, he had the Katakuri blocker up as well, but I believe it affects, even your second swing because it doesn't gain rush for the turn if your opponent's at 5 or less Dawn.
Wait, is that how that works? He loses rush?
Yeah. Yes, 'cause, that's actually happened to me before, where I have played Luffy first and swung with something else because you need to save 6 cost Luffy for your lethal swing a lot of the time, and if your opponent has, Gum Giant or an effect like this and they go to below 5 Dawn, then your Luffy cannot swing anymore.
Huh,
I believe that is the ruling.
interesting.
Might need to double check that, but yes.
In this situation, it didn't end up actually mattering, but that is actually a
Right.
very interesting thing. So there is no world actually where Green Purple Luffy could have won
Yeah,
because Katakuri just needs
yeah.
to minus his dong to the point where 6 cost Luffy just can't attack.
I forgot about that too. That's crazy. That's such
Interesting.
a it really I guess this matchup is really just pretty favored for Purple Katakuri then.
Yeah, actually,
Just with things like that too.
it seemed very dominant from Purple Katakuri from beginning to
Mm,
end.
yeah.
Yeah. Not
Like all the things that Pluffy can't do, Katakuri like to help in this matchup that would make it good against green purple, Katakuri can do. So while it is similar, it's still like Katakuri has a lot of other like special advantages.
yeah. Well, very interesting matchup. I actually need to kind of look into
Mm.
that leader a little bit more because it looked a lot
Mhm.
stronger than I
Seems
gave it credit
cool.
for. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, check out FudelioTCG. He put out a very long Bonnie guide just a few days
Yes.
ago. Check that out if you're
Yes.
interested in EB02 Bonnie. Thank you guys
Mhm.
for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.